welcome to Retro Warriors episode 490, which is only 10 episodes away from 500.
It is.
That's
how
so
math works.
So exciting.
It is.
So we've been talking about 500 for so long.
Yeah.
And then I think we've only been talking about it for so long because after 500, the only thing you can really celebrate is 1,000.
Yeah, and that's that's like 500 some odd episodes away.
We would be, you'd be in your 50s.
Not quite.
I think so, because 500 took us, 10 years?
Almost 10 years, yeah.
Almost 10 years, so you'd be close.
I might be at or near 50 by that point. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
That's...
You're just sailing inexorably towards death.
I just got one of those little existential, pangs in my chest. You know those ones where you're like, I'm going to have a bad night?
My sister turned 50 a couple of years ago, and that.
Well, you know what they say is 50 is the new 20.
Do they?
Except for when we're talking about how long you're going to live.
Yeah.
Then it's still just kind of 50.
It's still 50.
But you're only as old as you feel.
My sister insists that every decade so far has been better than the last.
Well, you know what? Good for her.
And
good
and
for
she's
her.
Like, you shouldn't feel worried about your age because it just only gets better. It only gets better. I'm like, I don't know how that maths. I don't think.
Eventually, it has
true.
to get worse,
right?
I talked
an abrupt end at one point.
I talked to Courtney a lot, and I'm like,
you talk to your wife a lot?
I know, perpetually. It's so annoying. It's this annoying habit I have. Where we're always like, yeah, our 20s were better than our teens. Our 30s have been better than our 20s. And I'm like, eventually one of them's going to be worse than the last one. And she's like, yeah, that's going to suck. And so we're just like gritting our teeth. Like we're in our 30s. We're still young. And we're just gritting our fucking teeth. Like, all right, here it comes.
Can you imagine talking to 15-year-old yourself and being like, yeah, I'm in my 30s. I'm still young.
I'd be like, no, you're old as fucking shit, dude. Yep. Yeah. Woo. I try not to think about it. It doesn't help, but I try not to.
Yeah.
Age it's just a number, Saturn. It's just a number. Really, really high one.
But it's a number that defines a thing. It's not just like it's not an RNG
It is an
number.
Arbitrary number?
Yeah. You didn't just roll it out of RNG there.
No merit. Yeah, there's a reason your doctor wants to know that number. It has some import. My week, I've been doing standard old guy things, pricing tennis balls for the bottom of my walker.
Yeah.
My
mom got a walker this week, and I went over there, and I was like, oh, it doesn't have the tennis balls on it.
Yeah, you haven't given up the lifting of the walker yet.
Well, no, she got a fancy one that has wheels instead of tennis balls.
I'd feel kind of ripped off if I didn't get the tennis balls are like a feature.
Right. I was like, man, I always think that if I ever get to the age where I need a walker, I want to have the tennis balls. And she was like, nah, that's old lady stuff. And I'm like, but
you're
I
an
want
old
the tennis
lady.
balls. Right.
Your mom gatekeeping walkers.
Right.
What are you, old? My week, I've been playing video games.
Okay.
I did play a bunch of the Root board game at the convention I went to last weekend, so I've been playing the digital adaptation of Root this week, just because I enjoyed it. Other people in my group enjoyed it, and I hope to play it some more, because I'm really bad about buying board games and sticking them on my shelf and being like, I'll play it one day, and then now I'm just perpetually marching toward death, and I haven't made time. So
I keep doing the same thing, because I used to buy a bunch of card games and board games, and inevitably people would be at my house when we would play them, but now I never see anybody in person, so I'm just buying games for nothing.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of money on a giant board game at the convention, and then I got it home and had this moment of like, I'm gonna play this, right I'm gonna play this, right? I'm definitely gonna play it, right?
You're definitely gonna do that
any minute now. Someone's gonna be like, hey, let's play that board game. I'm gonna break it out, and it's gonna be No, I've not. I sleeved it, organized it, watched hours of videos about how to play it, and then now it sits. It is sitting.
Well, why do you need to play it if you already watched a video on it?
I've experienced it.
Yeah.
I've also been playing Tetris Forever. I picked that up. That new Digital Eclipse kind of documentary style releases they've been doing lately.
Hoping for a physical though.
It's It's good. Like a lot of Digital Eclipse collections, I don't like to use the word sterile. There is some love in there, but they're just kind of museum-like.
Yes.
I think is probably a better term for it. Like it's not the level of excitement as like Tetris Effect or Tetris DS or something like that. But it's cool. It's got some cool versions of Tetris in there. They've got a special version where you play through different versions of the game, like you go back in time to different years using different power-ups, which is not the most exciting version of Tetris, but it's cool. It's pretty cool. Other than that, it's got a lot of like cool video clips. Alexei Pajitnov is in a bunch of them, just kind of talking about the game. Just really, as you would expect, kind of a love letter to Tetris.
Yeah.
And I've been having a decent amount of fun with it. And it's God, there's one version I've been playing. I can't remember what it's called, like Tetris Gaiden or something. I can't remember. I think it's a Famicom version, where it's like a battle Tetris where you're fighting each other and you have special abilities and stuff that you can activate. And it's pretty cool, you know. And they've got your standard features, your rewind and save points and stuff like that. And lots of little extra bits of information about the games. Like it's cool, it's fun.
Yeah.
It does include some like extremely early versions of Tetris that you're going to play exactly one time and go, good thing we have better Tetris now, and then never boot them up again.
You mean like NES Tetris? Oh,
how dare you? I also have been playing a little bit more Tears of the Kingdom. I just kind of got that itch, and I know I had complaints when it first came out, and I still have those exact same complaints.
Yeah.
It feels weirdly tedious in a way that Breath of the Wild did not. And I still cannot quite pinpoint exactly what it is, but I'm playing through the story right now, and it's just, it's going along. I'm enjoying it, but it just is, just a little less magical, a little more tedious than Breath of the Wild was.
It definitely feels like it fell out of public consciousness much faster than Breath of the Wild.
Faster, yeah. It does feel that, even though it seemed to review just as well. Yeah. I feel like everyone was like, it's as good, and then everyone was like, we're kind of done with it, though.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, you know, when you're doing a second act off of such a game-changing first act, like it or not, Breath of the Wild was very much a departure and a change for the series, and being a launch title on a new system on an unproven platform after a failure. Like it had a lot going for it.
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of coming to terms with the vehicle construction. I finally Googled like super efficient tiny vehicles that only use one or two pieces. So I'm kind of cheesing it in that regard, but it still feels kind of not very fun. Like the game is still very much just like lots of watching your meters go down faster than you want them to. Because you've got your stamina meter and your health bar, and then you got your battery meter, and it's just a lot of like fucking fighting with meters.
Yay.
Inside. That just feels kind of tedious. When it's fun, it's real fun. There are still these moments, you know, those kind of, like for me, Breath of the Wild was a lot of moments of discovery. A lot of moments of just like rounding a corner into something and being like, man, this is so cool, you know? And it still has them a little bit. It definitely, I don't know if it's just, maybe I just got worse at the games, but Tears of the Kingdom is a hard game. Like I die all the fucking time, constantly. Sometimes from dumb shit, like diving off of the thing and then running out of stamina and then just plummeting to the earth, crushing a person beneath me and dying.
Like you do.
But just the combat is harder. A lot of the enemies are harder. It just feels tougher. But I'm trying to, you know, the enjoyment is still there. It's just a little diminished compared to what Breath of the Wild was for me still. But I'm trying to kind of stick it through. I've also already started Final Fantasy 3 after getting through Final Fantasy 2 in you know, preparation for these 2 episodes, and it just immediately is so good. I love Final Fantasy 3. I love it a lot.
Yeah.
I think part of it has to do with just being such a return to form after Final Fantasy 2. You know, where it was just like, hey, you know, all that shit we threw out for Final Fantasy 2, what if we brought it all back and did it better? And you're like, yeah. So it feels it's like coming home. It's nice.
That was the first game that I ever fumbled my way through a partial fan translation of.
Oh yeah? Well, there you go.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
That's about it. Well, what have you been playing?
Well, before I get to that, I did want to two notes. One, a minute ago, you said you were cheesing it through Tears of the Kingdom.
Cheesing it, yeah.
And every time I hear someone say cheese it, my first thought is, cheese it, it's the fuzz. I don't know why. I just felt the need to say that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Also, while you were talking about your week, I just received an email from Neopets. And that's a thing I haven't thought about in years.
Yeah.
And so I looked in my email to see when the last time I got an email from Neopets was, and it was in 2007 from making my account, because that's the last time I logged into Neopets.
I'm opening Neopets right now.
My ex had convinced me to create a Neopets account, apparently in 2007, because she wanted me to play Neopets games with her. I did it one time, and then she never logged into it again.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that is I still have an account somewhere, because they're
doing their 25th anniversary.
That's what the email's about.
I remember playing it and being like, it looks like a game.
Yeah.
And it has game-like things.
There are games in it.
But it is not a game.
Yeah.
Very, for people that didn't play like early browser games, and I don't mean Flash games.
Right.
I mean like browser games.
Yeah.
It's one of those, although I think it was Flash pretty early on.
They did eventually do Flash, yeah.
But I thought about Neopets.
If I remember right, she had me play some game on there that was like a clone of Dr. Mario.
Yeah.
And then I let her use my Tetris and Dr. Mario, or Dr. Mario Puzzle League cart for GBA because I had bought her a DS. And then she was like, oh, this is so much better. And then she just played that instead, and then we never logged into Neopets again.
Oh.
But anyway, all that unrelated. So I've been playing Dragon Quest III because that came out.
Uh-huh. Yes, it's on my shelf. After I finish Final Fantasy 3 and Romancing Saga 2, then I will be playing Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D and Star Ocean 2. Yeah, still in the middle of that one. Yeah. And Final Fantasy 14 in its entirety.
Yeah.
It's on my shelf. I'm going to play it. I'm going to get there.
So I'll say it's good. It's very good.
Yeah.
I've been very happy with it so far. It's super, super charming. The HD 2D graphics are really impressive.
They're cute. Yeah.
It doesn't look quite as detailed as the early shots they showed when they announced it like 5 years ago, whenever that was.
I did see your comparison shots.
However, the world is much bigger than what they showed in those early shots, and because of that, there's some more fine details in specific areas. They're just blown out more.
Yeah.
The thing I've noticed about it is that because it is larger and in this different art style, I'm actually getting lost in a game that I've played so many times. Many times. I was trying to think of it. I'm not sure there are many games that I've played start to finish more than Dragon Quest III.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe Final Fantasy IV and Super Mario 3 and Super Mario World, and that's about it. And Link to the Past. That's about it though. I've played this game front to back many times in my life, and I found myself. I was in I don't remember what the current translation calls it, but it's the town north of Romilly, and I get to town and I'm just walking around looking for items that I can steal out of pots and stuff like you do.
Yeah.
And I see the item shop, and it has a back entrance, and I see the chest there, and I'm like, oh, I see what they want me to do. They want me to come back at night and take that chest from them, just like in Dragon Quest. Wait, this is Dragon Quest 3. Right. I remember now. And so it's taken me off guard like that a couple times. Where I'm like, oh, this is just like Dragon Quest 3. Oh, right, this is Dragon Quest 3. And so it's good. I'm liking it. There are a few new things, a handful of new cutscenes and story segments that were not in the original.
Yeah.
And there's also been there's a option that you can turn on where it will put a quest marker. It'll tell you where to go next. But because so much of Dragon Quest III was non-linear, and so many areas were completely optional, it's routed a couple of things so that you have to go to one of those optional areas in order to get the quest marker to move to the next mandatory area.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get your ship, it just puts quest markers all over the fucking map. It's just like, I don't know, one of these 9 places.
Figure it out.
Go one of those places. So I appreciate that, but I'm digging it. It's good. The translation is mostly based on the one that was used on Switch and mobile, which is I'm still not used to that translation yet because I've played the NES and Game Boy Color version so many times. But it's still a good translation, and the extra new scenes obviously are in the new translation, so it makes sense that they would use that. And it's voice acted. It's really weird to play an NES game with voice acting.
It seems like it'd be weird.
The first thing I noticed, so first of all, I do want to complain about the internet for a second because if you remember before the game came out, some people on the internet made a giant stink about how when you're choosing your character, it gives you the option between appearance A and appearance B instead of male or female. And people lost their fucking minds about it.
Of course they did. Of course.
But the thing is, right after you select it, like I chose appearance B because I wanted to use a heroine. It immediately afterwards says, selecting appearance B means you will play with a heroine. Like it's right there in words.
Yeah.
Nothing changed.
It says
anyway.
it. Yeah.
So
they also wanted to make a stink about them mildly making the clothing options better for the female heroine.
No, just for the warrior character.
Is that what it is? The warrior character? Yeah. Where
she got hot pants underneath her cod piece.
Yeah, which let me tell you, wearing just a metal bikini on top of straight skin.
Yeah, that sounds
really
uncomfortable.
Stupid idea.
It is. And you know, we all know that Toriyama is a brilliant, uncontested artist who all of his costume designs were never designed around being horny.
No, was never super horny.
Yeah.
To awkward degrees ever.
Yeah. But no, so that is a non-issue. I don't know why they made it an issue. But then when you are custom making backup party members, you get the you just like in the original game, you get to choose what their gender is, you get to choose their job. But then it gives you an extra option where you can choose their appearance, and it's got 4 different appearances for each gender on each job, which is really neat.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And so it actually has different designs for the characters. And then after you choose that, you get to choose a voice for them because they have the little grunts and their calls and everything during battle.
Yeah.
And so it's got like 16 different voices that you can choose. And I'm looking through these voices, and I've made my, this character and then this character and this character. I've made this female warrior character. And one of the voices is like defiant or something or aggressive or whatever. I'm like, that sounds like a good warrior voice. That sounds like the description of what a warrior would sound like.
Sure.
What I did not notice is at the bottom of the screen, it had a test voice option. I missed that entirely. So I was
all right.
like,
so you didn't get to check it.
No, I was just going by the names. And I was like, yeah, this is aggressive or whatever. That sounds like something a warrior would be. And then I get in my first battle, and this lady goes to attack, and as she swings, she's like, "Rah!" I'm like, whoa, lady, calm down. That is aggressive.
Too aggressive. Take it down a notch.
And then I realized when I went back and looked at these voices, all the ones on the left are masculine voices, and all the ones on the right are feminine voices.
I see.
And I did not catch that. And all of the feminine named voices, none of them are like aggressive or relentless or any of that. I'm like, I wanted that for my warrior, but I guess I don't get that because I want her to have a more feminine voice.
Because sexism, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So even though they made such a giant stink about how it did not have proper gender delineation, it absolutely does. It is still there. It is just not labeled as clearly as they wanted.
But noticing it requires
content.
people to do something other than read a headline or look for 2 seconds, and they're not going to do that. It's Saturn. These people
I also
aren't even
noticed
buy the
that
game.
all the people who complained about it had literally never acknowledged that a Dragon Quest game existed in the past. So I'm not concerned about their opinion anyway.
I have a question because this is a thing I think we brought up on our Dragon Quest 3 episode, which is, would you say this is the definitive Dragon Quest 3 now, or is this very much a different enough experience to be like, hey, this is just kind of a different way to play the game?
So it's hard to say since I haven't finished it yet, first of all.
True, yeah, okay.
I would say of what I have played, it is probably the definitive and most accessible version with the little asterisk caveat of it doesn't have the Pachisi tracks at all. They're gone.
Fucking Square Enix has always got to take something out.
So
nothing can ever be definitive.
So it does have a new monster raising system where you collect
tell me more.
Yes,
these tiny virtual pets.
Yeah, and it has added a new job of monster wrangler who gets extra abilities based on the monsters that you have done stuff. I haven't dug into that system at all yet. I've collected a couple of monsters, but I've not played with the system, so I don't know exactly how it works.
Say no more. This might bump Romancing Saga 2 off my list and take its place.
Yeah, so that is a new thing they added, is you get to collect and raise monsters. And if you have a monster wrangler in your party, you just immediately recruit the monsters when you encounter them. If you don't have a monster wrangler in your party, you might have to do something funny, like spray yourself some musk first before the monster will let you recruit them.
Yeah, so that's okay. I coat myself in monster musk every morning.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that added thing, but then they took away the Pachisi tracks. And the rumor is the Pachisi tracks were taken away because it could have been considered gambling, and that would have bumped its rating to 18 in Europe. So
I'm so tired of this dumbness.
Yes. So there's the give and take. Again, I haven't finished yet, but thus far it feels like, aside from the Pachisi tracks, it is probably the definitive version.
Yeah. Let's do some news.
Okay.
First up, the Game Awards has stated that Elden Ring DLC is Game of the Year eligible. Because I guess DLC is a game now too, because, what the fuck's the, who cares?
The past, the Game Awards even had a category for best DLC or expansion content or something.
Oh, it'll win that too.
No, they removed that category this year. And surprisingly, that happens to be the year that the Elden Ring DLC came out. And they just happened to nominate Elden Ring for Game of the Year.
Didn't Game Awards get to reveal like the first Elden Ring trailer or something?
Yeah, and also the game won Game of the Year last year.
So it kind of seems like maybe they're just paying special mind to the game that was good to them. It's favoritism, I guess is what I'm saying.
Jeff Keighley has been sucking From Software's dick almost as hard as he sucks Hideo Kojima's dick for years now.
Yeah. So it's stupid. It was stupid. But I'll say this. Mm-hmm. I think the name of the Game Awards, because we do a thread and we all watch it together and then hang out in the Discord. I think the name of one of our threads was Jeff Snubbed Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, something like that.
In this year, on the Game of the Year docket is Balatro.
Yes.
And if they snub Balatro and Vampire Survivors, me and Jeff are going to be real enemies, not fake pretend internet enemies. Yeah. You're gonna be real. I'm gonna send him a letter and be like, "Fuck you." I'm not gonna go to his house. That's confrontational. But I'm gonna send him a letter and I'm gonna be like, "Fuck you, Jeff."
Right? Yeah. I have no respect for the Game Awards in the first place, but it does feel like they are going out of their way to lose more of my respect.
Rampant favoritism.
Yeah.
Valve added new commentary and lots of other content for Half-Life 2's 20th anniversary because we're all old. We're so old. The game was available for free until November 18th. If you're listening to this, you missed it. Yeah. Sorry, you missed it.
It's all right. It goes on sale for like 80 cents once a month or so.
They also came out with a documentary about the game. It's just lots of cool Half-Life 2 stuff. No mention of Half-Life 3. I think they also rolled the Half-Life episodes 1 and 2 into the purchase for Half-Life 2. Mm-hmm. So now I think you get all of it when you buy the game. So just it's neat to see Valve, keeping the classics up to date and adding new content, new information about them. So that's always fun to see.
I do remember 20 years ago when Half-Life 2 came out, what a big stink people were making about Steam.
Yeah.
They're all upset that you have to install this Steam thing just to be able to play Half-Life.
Oh, I was upset. It was fucking stupid. I got to install a thing to install a thing? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
He said.
I remember my friends were just so angry about it. And those same friends, I still see their name pop up on Steam multiple times a day saying they're playing a game.
You know what? If the alternatives are the Epic Games store or whatever, whatever.
GOG's pretty good.
GOG is pretty good.
Yeah.
Although I've been having issues with their launcher lately. So I don't know what the fuck's up with that, but
I don't use their launcher.
Yeah, I probably should.
All the games individually.
Sega Channel games Klondike Solitaire and The Chessmaster, a port of The Chessmaster, have been found and preserved by Sonic Retroform's member In Diddy. So that's cool.
That's good.
More of these
It's a
Sega
shame
Channel
that
games
it's the
popping
Chessmaster. I'm sorry that future people will have to play that now, but
Saturn,
otherwise,
preservation doesn't discriminate.
Yeah,
We preserve all games equally.
I am happy to preserve the games. I'm just sad that it's that one.
Bubsy 3D is as important as Star Fox 2. Okay, we got to treat them.
I would agree with that. Yes, those are both games that I don't want to have to play.
Pizza Hut has released 3D printer files for a pizza warmer that uses the exhaust from your PS5 to keep your pizza warm, because I guess their marketing team ran out of shit to talk about.
Well, they ran out of those coupons they included with the Ninja Turtles games.
They can only stuff cheese into so many orifices of a pizza before they're just selling you a bag of cheese. So they're like,
"What bag of cheese? That'd be all right. If you just want to sell me a bag of that pre-melted mozzarella that you put in the breadsticks, all right.
Yeah.
Fine.
How about this? Instead of doing shit like this, just bring back the Bigfoot.
Yeah. Right.
Bring it the fuck back, Pizza Hut. You fucking cowards.
Right.
Instead of this,
I was never a Pizza Hut person as a kid. We had when we finally got a chain pizza place in town, it was Domino's. So we went there for years.
Yeah, I was a Pizza Hut kid.
And then when they opened up a Little Caesars, we just went there instead all the time. And then eventually they opened a Papa John's. My mom insisted on Papa John's. And then a couple months after we switched from Little Caesars to Papa John's, Little Caesars went out of business. And I still blame my mother for that. Like, how dare you put Little Caesars out of business?
I did look at the website for this, and if you go to download the files, you have to agree to a giant terms of service that says, like, I will only print this using food-safe materials. I will put down a foil aluminum layer between the 3D printed materials and my pizza. I will not use my pizza warmer indiscriminate. Like, it's so much. And then there's like a whole release from liability for Pizza Hut down at the bottom and all this shit, in case you like burn your house down with a 3D printed PS5 pizza warmer.
I love that I have to sign an agreement saying that I won't burn my house with their 3D printed pizza warmer, but there's no agreement that I have to sign saying that I won't burn the shit out of the roof of my mouth with their pizza. Because that's a more serious injury that happens constantly.
Like, it's just dumb marketing. Right. But the fact that they didn't release the product, that they're like, download the files and make it your fucking self, is them going, hey, market this shit to your own goddamn self. We don't. Where's a file?
This is the 2024 version of when they would be like, we got a special promotion for you, and it's a little paper cutout that you can print out at home.
God, I remember that shit. Yeah. Super Mario 64 speedrunner Suigi has set a new world record for the 70-star category and now holds all Super Mario 64 world records for speedrunning that are all different star categories. It's like 50, 70, 90, 120. So good for them.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stars, and that's very quickly done.
I've tried to watch Mario 64 speedrunning, and I just
it's nuts.
It is. It's bizarre. It's
all nonsense. N64 speedrunning is fucking insane. It's just like, look how broken this shit is. You're like, oh, okay.
One, I don't have that much love for N64 games, and two, it's all so broken that it's impossible to follow unless you've also watched a documentary on what all the breaks are.
Sega is delisting the Sonic Adventure games in Germany and Italy, so, buy them while you got them.
Yeah, that's more delisting from Sega. What is going on over there?
Sony is looking to purchase Kadokawa, who owns Spike Chunsoft, Acquire, and 70% of From Software. They already own 14% of FromSoft, with Tencent owning the other 16%. So they're looking to hoover up more companies as fast as they can.
Now, my guess is that they're doing this not for their video game library, though that is, beneficial.
Sure.
I think what they're actually after is their anime and manga portfolio.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Sony is in that business. They own Crunchyroll.
Yep.
And they could definitely benefit from suddenly acquiring all of Kadokawa's business.
Yeah. The PlayStation Portal has been updated. Now allows the device to stream games from the cloud.
It's good. That's finally a good function for it.
It's a thing it should definitely have had at launch, right? But cool to have it. Good.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14.
To own a PS5 just to use the Portal was always a pretty high cost of entry.
Final Fantasy 14 mobile was announced.
Yes.
But the website won't fucking load for me, so I don't know what it's about.
I think it's a Firefox thing.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I didn't try it in Chrome, but that's my guess. Because I didn't see other people mocking its stupid website.
I'll believe this when I see it, because they also announced Final Fantasy 11 mobile, and it never happened.
Well, this one they actually have a developer lined up, and it's a developer that has already put out similar mobile knockoffs of established games.
Yeah.
I believe it'll probably come out.
I'm interested to see how this is going to work because Final Fantasy XIV is a pretty hefty game.
Yeah.
And crunching that down onto mobile is going to take a lot of work.
So the company that is making this, they have crunched MMOs before.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they are only doing A Realm Reborn for now.
So already useless to me. So great.
I just pulled up the website. It does work in Chrome, by the way. It works perfectly in Chrome and Edge. It does not work at all on Firefox because, of course, fucking not. Because companies can't test their goddamn websites. Anyway.
No.
But no, it's it is going to be compressed a bit gameplay wise. They're supposedly keeping all the same duties and trials and jobs and everything, but it is going to be compressed for mobile play. And it is just going to be the most boring segment of the story. So
yeah,
we'll see how that works.
Is what it is. Xbox has started beta testing their Stream Your Own Game service on cloud gaming.
It works.
Saturn
I tested it.
Did you know you can stream your own Xbox game directly to your television by plugging your Xbox into your television? Do you know about this? Did you hear this is how people used to play video games in the before times?
But then I have to have a console. Now,
yeah, but everything's an Xbox. Yeah, everything's an Xbox now, Saturn. Didn't you see the ad?
Yeah, that was this ad.
Oh yeah, it was.
I tested it out because I was watching something and I didn't want to turn on my Xbox, but I also wanted to play a game. But I had my Linux laptop in front of me. And
laziest use case.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to play something that plays on Linux. So I'm gonna test this Xbox thing. So I plugged in an Xbox controller into my laptop, and I loaded up Final Fantasy V Pixel Remaster because that's one of the 50 games that's part of this test.
Yeah,
worked fine. Had no issues. Played for like 2 hours. Forgot that I was even playing the streamed version at one point. So it's fine. Works fine if you have one of the 50 games it supports and you subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate because you have to pay for that to have access to this.
Steam, and this is in addition to recently changing the purchasing terminologies to imply that you are buying a license to a game and also disclosing kernel level anti-cheat. They now require that all DLC and season passes be listed, descriptions for all DLC items be present, and expected release dates of any DLC also be present.
And also, if your DLC does not come out by release date or a reasonable time after, you must they can take action up to and including forcing you to refund the customers.
And we've said this before and I maintain it. Valve is continuing to do the bare minimum and are heroes for it.
Yes. Because this no one else is doing the bare minimum.
This is bare minimum shit that anyone running a marketplace should want.
And
this is ways to inform you consumers intelligently of what they are purchasing. Every marketplace should want this. We just don't because they're lazy.
What's frustrating is if 15 years ago, if somebody had told 2009 versions of us that, hey, this online marketplace, it's gonna the people are gonna start selling DLC in season passes where you buy a whole year of DLC, and this one marketplace is gonna force them to put descriptions of everything that's gonna be in it,
what you're buying,
and force it to release on time, or you get a refund. We would have just been like, well, yeah, that's.
Yeah, why? Of course they fucking would tell you what you're buying and when you get it. That's how buying things works.
If I'm going to buy a year of DLC in advance, of course you're going to tell me what it is.
No.
Why wouldn't they do that?
No.
So yeah, this is us catching up to what is obvious.
Yeah.
And that's depressing.
Yeah. Dragon Quest III HD 2D Turbo Hyper Fighting has already become the best-selling game in Japan for 2024. Yeah. Good for Dragon Quest III.
Yeah, it was close to 1 million physical copies in.
I mean, this was inevitable. Like this, I think people don't understand how big DQ3 is in Japan.
Oh yeah, did you see any of the pictures of the Lawson convenience store?
No.
Oh, all of the Lawson stores in Japan, which is like a 7-Eleven style convenience store, have been fully rebranded to Dragon Quest III. All kinds of Dragon Quest III merch. Some of it is throwback merch to look like the original Lawson release of Dragon Quest III in 1988, and
Cute.
others is brand new merchandise. It's very adorable, very cute. Go look up pictures if you haven't seen it yet.
And finally, Donkey Kong Land added to Nintendo Switch Online is what we're ending on, I guess.
Well, that was it just happened an hour or two ago.
Good old Donkey Kong Land. It's a game.
Only the first one, not the second or third. Sorry.
It's Donkey Kong, and you can play it on a Game Boy. That's what made that game notable.
It's almost Donkey Kong Country,
almost
but it's in
Donkey
black
Kong
and
Country,
white.
but also not Donkey Kong Country.
Right. Well, that costs extra. You got to buy.
Which,
Super Nintendo
speaking
for
of almost being it, but not being it, that brings us to our topic at hand,
that. Yeah.
which is Final Fantasy 2. Final Fantasy 2 also.
Yeah.
Saturn wrote 2 Final 2 Fantasy.
I'm going to make that joke every time we do a sequel. Every time.
This is, of course, the second part of a two-parter. If you looked at the title and it said Final Fantasy 2 Part 2, and you're like, I'll start there, then
Why?
that's weird.
Why did you do that?
But welcome to the show,
still welcome to be
regardless of your poor decision-making. Here we are. And this is the part of the episode where we tell you that we are about to go through, in detail, the entire story of Final Fantasy 2. If you don't want to hear the story of Final Fantasy 2, what are you fucking doing? What are you doing here?
I do need to go back slightly to the news because I just saw something.
Oh yeah.
Because I was looking up the Lawson store to try to find pictures to send you. This Dragon Quest III remake, much like the original version of Dragon Quest III in 1988, released on a weekday in Japan.
Oh, thus disproving
Once
the
again,
myth that
we
Dragon
discussed
Quest
a couple weeks
cannot
ago.
release on a weekday, which was not true.
It was not true then. It's not true now.
Oh,
Anyway,
no.
sorry.
All
Yeah,
those school kids, Saturn,
I know.
they
what are
must have
gonna
skipped
do?
school to play Dragon Quest 3, as well they should.
Right.
Damn the man, this is very cute. I did see this picture. I did see this one. Yeah.
And also all the adults
That's
who
cute.
skipped work to play Dragon Quest 3, they should have.
Yeah. Fuck work.
Right? The economy can shut down for a day. We have to play Dragon Quest now.
Yeah, man, we shut down for like 3 fucking years. You can handle a day to play Dragon Quest. Fuck them. They're all fine. The stock market didn't crash. It did
Right.
fine. It's doing
Fine.
great.
Square Enix
Record
stock's
profits.
doing great.
Yeah. Final 2 Fantasy.
Mhm.
Again, story
Stories.
spoilers.
Yes.
From
all
here until the end of the episode, unless you only want to hear the patron names at the end, is basically going to be us telling you what happened in the story. So strap in because it's weird.
that. Oh,
It's
I
weird.
accidentally left the reception at the end of this one too.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
You
we'll
know,
do that too.
we we can leave that there. Yeah, I guess technically that normally is first episode
Yeah.
shit, but who cares?
Right.
Who cares?
We are
So-
too fantasy for that.
Saturn, I want to. God damn it! I want you to step me through in excruciating
Oh, God.
detail the full, the full and complete story of Final Fantasy II, skipping no beats.
All right.
Tell me everything. Who is our story about?
People. The end.
Ah, we did it.
All right. So you got your 4 characters who are orphans, just like in Final
Uh-huh.
Fantasy 3.
Yes.
It is presumed that they are orphans because their parents were killed in the war.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So, because the whole game is about the war, so they are
Right. The war, the Empire's there, and there was a war between the Empire and the not Empire,
Yes.
and
it's
not really
literally
super
the rest
clear.
of the world.
yeah, the whole like, because there's other kingdoms, and
Yeah.
you're like, is it 2 empires fighting,
no,
or
it's just one empire versus the world, and it's winning.
yeah. Yeah, it's. Just,
So
it was kind of funny at the end. Immediate spoilers for like the very end, but at the end, that when the Emperor comes back the second time for the final encounter, he's like, "I don't care about the Empire. I'll take over the world." And I was like, "What were you
kinda
doing
were.
before?
Yeah.
What was the fuck? You were just
You're already
you
doing
already
that,
fucking
man.
wore. That was everywhere. We
Right.
can't go anywhere that you weren't taking over.
Right.
Anyway, tell me
So-
about these people, and
So-
immediately I'm gonna have issues,
Yeah.
but I'll let you say a sentence before I interrupt you.
All right, so our characters, I'm going to go through them one by one. We got Furion, who in Japan
Yep.
is known as Frionel. Yep,
Which sounds like a forgotten McDonald's mascot,
No,
so
it's
they
the-
had to change it to
it's
Furion.
the off-brand leader of the Thundercats.
The Fryon.
So
Thundercats ho!
he's
That's Fryon.
he's our generic character. He wears the bandana.
Yep.
Unless you're playing on NES, whereas he just looks like FF1 Fighter.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's sad.
Yep.
I like the bandana.
And then we've got Maria. She's the woman.
She's the lady.
Yep. We've got Guy. He's the dumb one.
So I didn't know anything about these characters coming into it. Yeah. First of all, I'm immediately mad at all of the names in this game because there's 2 or 3 characters that are like Minwa, Firion, and everyone else is like Paul, Steve, Bill, Dave, and you're like, oh, who?
Yeah,
they've all got these like New Testament Christian names. It's too easy to mix them up.
Yeah.
I thought there was something fucked up with the translation because Guy shows up and he immediately talks like a caveman. He's like, me Guy, me fight bad guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this a bit? Is this them being funny? Is this their sense of humor? And I kept waiting for the silly moments with Guy, but it's just like, Guy sad that friend's dead. And you're like, oh, it's just really fucking serious. They just straight-laced Encino Man into Final Fantasy 2.
I have to assume that because in Japan they've got all kinds of different dialects and everything.
Sure.
That maybe he's just got a dialect that is some region that is known for lower education, whatever.
Yes.
But in
that would
English,
be my guess.
He just sounds like a caveman.
I thought maybe they were trying to do like maybe he's speaking like he doesn't know the language very well. He's from a different country.
No, everybody else in the world speaks perfectly.
But yeah, no, it's just very much like he's just like me Guy.
Yeah, but he can speak
very
Beavers,
weird.
so it's fine.
It's very weird.
And also as a reminder from the first episode, every character's stats are identical, and every character can bump up to anything you want him to do. So Guy can be your expert mage, who is a master intellect magician.
By the end, Guy was my main black mage.
Yeah. But
he was the one casting like level 10 flare, and then out of combat he's like, me smash.
Yeah, and then you can give Maria just dual wield axes the entire game if you want.
My Maria was dual wield swords until the Yoichi bow at the end, and then I trained up bow and she did the Yoichi bow from the back row. But yeah.
And then finally, our 4th character is Leon, or in Japan, Lionheart.
Who you get at the very end of the fucking game.
Well, you get him in the very first battle.
Right, and then he goes away.
He is the missing one. He is Maria's brother.
I feel like everyone's missing at some point in this game.
It's true, except for your 3 characters.
Yeah.
And also, fun fact, Squall's little dumb necklace thing in Final Fantasy VIII is named after Lionheart in Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, I didn't know that.
As a reference.
More ties between 8 and 2.
Yep.
The 2 weird black sheep of their respective Final Fantasy franchises.
So this one starts in media res, which is pretty uncommon for NES games. I can't.
Oh, absolutely.
Of one. But it's just you in a battle with end game enemies with all level idiot characters, and you immediately get massacred. And then Firion, Guy, and Maria are saved by the Wild Rose Rebellion and taken to Altair. And they meet Princess Hilda of Fynn.
I don't really know why it's a rebellion because they own a whole kingdom.
Well,
the kingdom of Fynn, it's just your kingdom. I don't understand.
Well,
all right.
Fynn was taken, so they don't have Fynn. And also,
true, in the beginning you don't.
The people from Kashwan are also there because Scott and Gordon are there.
Okay, yeah. The other normal... the fucking names in this game, for whatever reason, later games with their weird names, I remember just fine. Yeah. But then in this one, they're all just like Scott, Gordon, Dave, Paul, Steve.
There's a
Firion.
There's a thing on TV tropes. One of the tropes is called Aerith and Bob, for when works have some characters that have bizarre names, and then Bob. And this game definitely falls into that.
100%. Yeah. Anyway, we show up and we meet Princess Hilda.
So we get to meet Princess Hilda, and she immediately tasks us with joining her army and helping her retake Fynn from the Palmetian Empire. That's the bad guys. For most of the game, they just call them the Empire.
Right.
But they are the Palmetians. And our 3 characters agree, hoping that it helps them find Maria's brother Leon. That's ostensibly our motivation going into the game, is trying to find Leon. That motivation is dropped immediately and not brought up again until basically when you find him.
Yeah, there's a lot of characterization that's just kind of you're supposed to be assuming is going on behind the scenes as people's motivations change.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of emotional content to kind of any of the story. It's just sort of delivered dryly, like, go here, do this now.
Yeah.
And then you show up, and then, I don't know.
Having played a lot of games during the era when this came out, I'm okay with it because I do a lot of that background characterization when I'm playing a game.
Yeah.
I can put a bunch of abstract ideas together and assume what kind of conversations they're having in between battles or in between story segments. So I'm okay with it, but this is pretty light on a lot.
It is.
It does seem to drop plot threads pretty often.
Oh, yeah.
So the team goes to Fynn, which is completely overrun with Imperial soldiers that will kick you out of town.
Which was a cool touch, kind of a weird thing for a game this early to have a town where like everyone you talk to is like you're going to get in a fight and they'll kick you out of town. Like, I mean, it's kind of become a standard trope in JRPGs, the mandatory stealth segment.
Yeah.
But it's, it was new at the time.
And it's not even much of a stealth segment because as long as you don't talk to them,
just
you
don't
can just
talk
walk right through.
Now, I immediately walked up to one and talked to him. Like I walked right into the town and was like, they're not going to fight me. It's an NES game. They'll just tell me to get out. No, they fucking fight you. Yeah,
the game started with an impossible battle. What were you expecting?
I don't know. Not that, I guess.
Yeah. So you get to Fynn. You meet Hilda's fiance, Scott, who is the Prince of Kashwan. And he immediately eats shit and dies. But
first of many.
Yeah, but first he gives you some information about how one of the citizens of Kashwan, Borgin, has betrayed the rebellion and become a general for the Imperial Army. So you go take this information to Hilda. First, there's this whole dramatic sequence where he's like, tell Hilda I love her. Wait, never mind. Don't tell her that. That will bother her. Dead.
Yeah. It's her fiance.
Right.
Did she assume he didn't love her?
Right. And then later other things happen to make this a stupider plot point. But anyway, so you go tell Hilda that Borgin has betrayed her, and she's like, oh, okay, well, go take Minwu with you and go find Joseph in Salamand. He's supposed to find us Mithril, and go check in on that, see how that's going.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go to Salamand.
You get Minwu, who's an insanely powerful white mage.
For this early in the game,
he has like an excessive amount of white mage. I think he has more than you can actually teach a person, doesn't he?
No, it's not even a full inventory of spells.
I guess it just felt full because it was so early.
Yeah, he's got
everybody else has 2 spells, and his is like a whole fucking page.
And several of his spells are level 5 or higher, which is nuts.
Crazy strong
early in the game.
Yeah.
And so
the only useful 4th party member you ever get.
This most recent time I played it, I was already stronger than him by the time I got him.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he was nothing. Anyway, so you take Minwu and you head towards Salamand and you find Joseph, and he is become hesitant to help the resistance because the Palametians have abducted his daughter and threatened to kill her if he betrays them. So you go and you save his daughter and the rest of the townspeople that were abducted. And you also save Paul, who is the thief that you could have briefly met at the beginning of the game, but you may have ignored him because he was just an NPC in the first town.
Yeah.
And then once you've saved him, Joseph is like, all right, cool, here's some mithril. And so you go get your mithril equipment, and then you're sent to Bafsk.
The Empire stole the second vowel from their name.
Yeah,
so they had to shorten it to Bafsk.
They owe Pat Sajak some money, so they can't buy their vowels.
Took their vowels.
Yeah. So they went to go stop the Empire's battle airship, as the Dreadnought. Instead, they arrived just in time to see the character referred to only as the Dark Knight show up, take the Dreadnought, and just blow up a whole bunch of resistance towns.
And this is a cool moment in the game because, it's not cool because they're murdering people, but it's cool because the towns actually change. Yeah. They get attacked, and then when you show up in town, everything's all like busted up, and everyone's all like, "Oh, we got attacked! It's horrible!" So like this is a thing where like even games after this would have moments where they're like, "Oh, the Empire's attacking," but you never see the effects of it.
Right. Yeah, this game is very. This game very much is like that does that is Final Fantasy VI. The towns. But
this game very much was like, we want you to see the horrors of this war firsthand,
right?
And you do multiple times.
Oh yeah, it gets much worse. So he tears up a bunch of stuff. You go back home to Altair, and Minwu decides he's going to stick around because the King of Finn was hurt. He's going to administer healing to the King of Finn. And so you're told to go talk to Cid, who owns the only other airship in the world.
Real fucking proud of it too.
Yeah.
And it flies exclusively to places you can walk to.
Yeah. So you find Cid. He's like, well, if you want to destroy the Dreadnought, you need Sunfire. That's the thing that breaks airship engines. It's the only thing in the world that breaks airship engines. So go get that. But that's in Kashwan, and Kashwan's locked. So you need a magic bell to get into Kashwan.
Mm-hmm.
And Gordon's vanished. You can't find Gordon anywhere. He could have gotten in without a magic bell.
But we don't know where he is.
But he's gone.
He fucked off somewhere.
Right, he fucked off. Where's the magic bell? Oh, it's in a snow cave.
Yeah, so you have to get a snowmobile.
Yeah, how else did you get to a snow cave without a snowmobile?
I don't know.
So
any other way?
Where do we get a snowmobile? Oh, that guy Joseph from earlier, he's got one. Okay, so we go find Joseph, and he's like, oh, I have to come with you so that I can operate the snowmobile, which you need this one time ever. So you get Joseph, you go get the snowmobile, you go to the snow.
Did they just have to include a mandatory snow segment? Was Square like, nah, you got to include snow.
Right?
Gotta be a snow segment.
My guess is they were like, well, what vehicles do we have in the first Final Fantasy? Oh, we had a canoe, and we had a boat, and we had an airship. Oh, okay. Well, we need one more than that. Shit. There are no other vehicles in the world.
Jet ski, tank,
snowmobile,
sandcrawler.
I should have gone with the sandcrawler. So you get your bell, and then you on your way out of the snow cave, you're ambushed by General Borgin, and you kill General Borgin, but he's like, ha ha ha, there was a trap. As soon as I die, you'll die too. And Joseph sacrifices himself so that you can survive, and it's a big touching moment, and your characters are all like, oh no, Joseph, that guy we knew for 5 minutes.
Yeah, this game is a lot of like people showing up and being like, I'm Bill, and I'm here to save the world. I died now, and you're sad. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, and Joseph's the worst.
Not Bill.
Yeah. So Joseph eats shit, just like Scott did earlier.
Yep, Scott and Joseph died.
Yeah, and so now you got the bell, you go to Kashwan, and Gordon was there the whole time. He could have just let you in. But no, he was inside. He was on the other side of the locked door.
He was in there baiting, so he couldn't hear you.
So, go away, I'm baiting. So the worst thing is, you get in there and like 2 steps in, he's just standing there. He's like, I was too scared to go any further, so I was waiting for you. Like, motherfucker.
Yeah, then let us the fuck in,
Why
dude.
didn't you wait on the other side of the door?
Yep.
Yep. So you go through Kashwan, and you get the Sunfire, and you use Cid's airship to get to the Dreadnought, and then you go to the Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Also you learn that no, you don't get to take the airship because the airship is abducted by the Dreadnought.
Yeah, it gets taken. You get to the Dreadnought, and then you have to like use a pass you found earlier in the game.
Yeah, you have to
in one of the dungeons.
Yeah, you have to get a secret pass to go into the Dreadnought.
Which I spent a long time standing there trying to deal with that guy, and I was like, what do I fucking do here? And I was like, oh yeah, I got that pass. Well, maybe that's it. And it is. It's a pass onto the airship. They don't question you either. They're like, right away, sir.
Yeah. Also,
really top men keeping this airship secure.
Also, turns out that Hilda was on Cid's ship for some reason.
Yep. No idea why. Yeah. She said at some point, she was like, I was going to come help. And you're like, you just got immediately kidnapped.
Yeah. So
like instantly.
So they're on the Dreadnought. So you go and you save Cid and Hilda and recover Cid's airship, and you blow up the Dreadnought, and you confront the Dark Knight. And Gordon's like, oh, I have to go with Hilda because now I'm in love with her. This woman that was previously betrothed to my brother.
Yeah, right.
And she's immediately
But she
in love
didn't
with him
know
too,
that,
so
that Joseph loved her because he didn't tell her. He was like, don't tell her that I love her. Scott, right? God damn it.
These generic English sounding names.
Yeah, Aerith and Bob.
Yeah. So now you've rescued Hilda, but her father is dying, the King of Finn. And in his final moments, he sets out this grand plan where Minwoo is supposed to go unlock Ultima from the Mysidians. And Gordon is supposed to take command of the rebel army and retake Fynn. And Firion and our team is supposed to go to Deist or Deist, I'm not sure, and rescue or to recruit the aid of the Dragoons.
Right.
So,
except that they're all dead.
Yeah, well, we don't know that yet.
Right.
So
right.
we take a boat, the only boat that will possibly go to Deist, and it just happens to be a pirate vessel, and we're immediately ambushed by pirates.
You mean Peretti vessel?
I'm sorry, Piretes.
You're ambushed by Perettis?
The Piretes. And we fight the Piretes, and after this super easy fight, they're like, oh, we respect you and have to join you. Oh, you're fighting the Empire? We want to fight the Empire.
Right. We will fight the worldwide empire to the death because you beat us up one time on a boat while we were trying to mug you.
Yeah, we are pirates, and we hate authority, so I guess we'll join you against the Empire.
And then thus joins Leela.
Yeah, and Layla, who is...
Layla? I'd been calling her Leela the whole game.
I've been calling her Layla. I always thought it was Layla.
Oh.
But she's the head of the pirates, and so she joins us.
Right.
And that's the only time that a woman will ever be in charge of pirates in a Final Fantasy game ever again. So you get to Deist, and you learn that the Empire's already wiped out the Dragoons, as well as their wyverns. There is one wyvern left in poor health who inexplicably trusts you and your party with the last wyvern egg.
For no real reason, and then wants you to go huck it in a magic lake.
Yeah. It's like there's 2 living people left in Deist, including a child who would have been the successor to the Dragoons.
Right, that know how to take care of wyverns, that lived with Dragoons, that were married to them, grew up in this, and they're like, hey, go chuck my egg in a lake.
Yeah, instead it's just like, random strangers, please take my last baby and throw it in the water.
And then he just fucking dies.
Yeah, it just immediately dies. So you have to take this wyvern egg down to an underground lake, and you just drown Dragoon babies. It's just that's such a weird segment. And then you come home, and immediately Firion is seduced by Hilda, who turns out to be a Lamia queen.
Yeah, which I thought that was the closest they get to silliness in this game.
Yeah, it is.
And even that's played pretty straight. There's like one character that has like one dialogue afterward that you talk to him and they make some quip about like Firion and Hilda in the bedroom.
Yeah, Maria and Layla are both like, oh, you can't keep your guard down around women, ha ha ha.
Yeah, like that was the closest to like a silly moment.
Right.
That we got.
Right after you defeat the Lamia Queen, you find out that the real Hilda is being offered as a prize for a tournament in Palamecia's Coliseum.
Just an utterly pointless plot point.
Yeah.
Why was she on the ship? Why are they offering her as a prize? Like, what?
And so,
all right. So sure.
Gordon's like, well, I'm not going to let you guys go save her without me because now I'm in love with her, so I have to go with you. So Gordon rejoins you. Layla, the pirate, immediately agrees to take over the entire resistance army in his absence.
Which they let her, of course.
They're fine with it because whatever. We've known you for 10 minutes. We trust you.
Yeah.
So your team with Gordon goes to the Coliseum. You fight one battle against a behemoth, and you're like, oh, that's the victory.
You win. That was the Coliseum. We only had the one monster that we captured.
Now come get your prize. You have a moment surprise trapdoor.
Firion like imagines getting up there, or like he has like an inner monologue where he's like, I'm going to get up there and then I'm going to jump the guy and then take Hilda back or something, which I thought was kind of the most real internal thinking and characterization that really occurs in this game.
Yeah.
It felt oddly out of place where everything else is external. And he has like this kind of internal monologue that you're privy to.
And then you immediately fall in a trap door.
Yeah, because you're dumb. Yeah. Instantly. You dumbass falls in a pit.
Right. So on your way out of, the pit, you end up saving Paul shows up first to save you because you saved him earlier, and he has to make a big deal about returning the favor. And then you rescue Hilda, and Gordon escapes with Hilda, and you get back to Altair so that Layla can rejoin you because why not? It's been 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you retake Fynn from an Imperial general or commander or somebody named Gatos, who's never been mentioned before this very moment.
Nope, doesn't come up after either.
He does as a random encounter in the last dungeon. There's hundreds of him.
Oh yeah, he is there, but I mean, it's
story wise, never mentioned.
It's like
again.
Clones,
yeah.
But yeah, in the story, he never comes up again.
But gameplay wise, there's hundreds of him for some reason.
Yeah.
So you defeat him, and then Hilda and Gordon move the Imperial base back to Fynn. But they're like, "Hey, what's taking Minwu so long? You should go find out what's taking Minwu so long."
Yeah, with the Ultima spell, what's up?
Yeah, so you go on this wild goose chase to get all the different things that you need in order to get into the Mysidian Tower.
Which is dumb.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to get a couple of masks, and then you trade them for a rod or something.
It's goofy.
And then you
get swallowed up by Leviathan, which leads to one of the cooler dungeons, which is you're in Leviathan.
Yeah.
So you're like walking around through stomach acid and it's all guts and stuff. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
But what's funny is in there, other people have gotten swallowed, so there's other NPCs there.
Oh, also Layla's gone.
Yeah, Layla's not there.
Yeah. Somehow she was not swallowed by Leviathan.
But while you're down there, you meet Ricard, the last Dragoon. And but there's other NPCs. They've made like a little makeshift tavern in this thing's guts.
Yeah.
And one guy's like, "Don't even try to get out. You can't do it." And then other guy's like, "I've been down here 10 years."
Then you immediately get out.
You go one room to the left, kill one monster, and then there's a whole fucking ship there waiting for you, and you just sail your way out. And I kept thinking about that. That guy
been there for 10 years.
Been there for 10 years.
And you leave him there.
He could have just snuck past the monster. There's a whole ass ship at a dock ready to go.
And you and your team leave all those people behind. There's room on the ship. They could have come with you.
What do you sail out of? The thing's asshole? Like, where is
it? You sail back up to the mouth and you're like, "Excuse me, Mr. Leviathan, can we leave?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm very sorry."
I think you got to go out of the butt. There's no... Yeah.
Well, you did get past all the stomach acid already.
It's docked right at his asshole, so it just goes right.
And also, is it your ship or is it a different ship that's been there the whole time?
I don't know. And it seems like it's a different ship.
It has to be because Ricard knows that it's been there.
Yeah, it's already been there, which means the guy that's been there for 10 fucking years knows there's a ship.
Yeah.
And you just got to fight one monster that's a pretty easy boss fight.
Yeah, pretty easy. And then you're fine. And then Leviathan never shows up again. Never mentioned.
Nah, gone.
It's gone.
You got out of its asshole, and it was like, that ship in my butthole is what was upsetting me all these years.
The rest of the people have just been surviving on swallowed fish.
Now I'll just digest this guy that's been here for 10 years and move on with my life.
So you got Ricard, you've survived Leviathan, you go to the Mysidian Tower, and you climb up to the top, and Minwu's just standing outside of a door waiting for you.
Yes.
And he's like, "Oh,
the job he's supposed to be doing by himself."
Yeah. He's like, "Thank God you're here." So I figured out this door. The only way to get through it is to literally sacrifice your life to it. So I'm going to do that, and you guys go in and take the shit.
Right.
So he immediately eats
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you
get third or fourth shit eating of the game.
Yeah, this is at least the third. So you get Ultima. Mm-hmm. You return to Fynn, but you learn that the Emperor has summoned a cyclone that has straight up destroyed almost every town in the game.
Now, this is the moment for people that don't know. Before you go to Cyclone, you have to go get the Blood Sword from Paul.
Yeah, this is the moment.
If you're going to do the Blood Sword, because the Blood Sword makes it so you can kill the last boss in like 2 hits.
Yep.
And if you skip this, in the pre-GBA version, there was a second Blood Sword you could still get.
Right.
But GBA and after... This is the only blood sword in the game, which why? Why would you do this?
And you have to go talk to Paul to get it.
Yeah. And he gives you like a bunch of shit.
Yeah. He opens up
you have to
door.
mention this cyclone keyword to him, and then he gives you a bunch of stuff.
He opens up a door to his secret room and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the cyclone has just straight up torn up the world. You can't revisit most of the towns anymore. They are destroyed. So for some reason, there's a pendant in the basement of Fynn. And the pendant, when used in a mirror at the top of Fynn Castle, wakes up that fucking
It can view
wyvern egg.
the bottom of the magic lake. And yeah, here's what was funny to me is I had gone there because I was like, I know I'm supposed to do the wyvern now, but I did it in the wrong order. So I did the pendant and it just showed me the egg.
Yeah.
And then I immediately went and did the next story thing and came back and it was like, oh, it's a full grown wyvern. And I was like, 5 minutes ago, it was literally an egg.
Yeah.
And now it's fully grown.
Yep. Yeah. So you, I don't know why the pendant, the Dragoon's pendant was in the basement of Finn this whole time instead of with the Dragoons. And I don't know why you need the mirror in Finn Castle to wake up the wyverns that were never associated with the Castle of Finn.
Well, and then also, the wyvern flies you into the cyclone.
Yeah.
That's how you get into the cyclone. That's the whole bit.
Yeah.
If only there was some other type of flying vessels in Final Fantasy that could...
But they said that the airship would be destroyed if it got too close.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So we'll just do the wyvern that we use. I was kind of excited because I was like, oh, instead of an airship, they're going to give me a wyvern.
No.
That's cool. That's a cool change from there. No. You don't ever get to fly it anywhere. Nope. It's just an automated segment where it shoots you into the cyclone.
Yeah. But fortunately, Ricard is a Dragoon, so the wyvern will communicate with him. Otherwise, you would have been fucked. Because he's the last of the Dragoons.
I thought the pendant is how it communicates.
That's the Dragoon's pendant. Only Dragoons can use it.
But that would imply he has one and had one the whole time.
Exactly.
So why did we have to go get...
This is the most frustrating story segment to me.
Yep. All right, so you go into the cyclone.
Yeah, you go into the cyclone.
And you fight the Emperor.
Fight the Emperor. Also, the Emperor's name is Mateus.
God damn it.
They never say that in the game. Ever once.
You fight Emperor Matt.
Yeah. So he's defeated. World is saved. Starting to have a party.
Yeah, it kind of treats it like it's over, and it does like a false ending.
Yeah,
with a very long dance segment where everyone dances in the throne room.
And that segment does not exist in the original NES game.
It was added. Okay.
Instead, it's just like you're talking to Hilda, and she's like, "Yay, we won!"
Good
and then
job.
Somebody walks up and is like, "Never mind. The Dark Knight is now the new emperor, and they've started the war back up for some reason."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you decide you have to go confront the Dark Knight. Also, you learn that the Dark Knight is Leon.
Oh, dun dun dun! Maria's lost brother, Leon.
So you go.
Oh no! Surely we'll punish him for his crimes of taking over the Empire, right?
No.
Right, Saturn?
No. So you go to stop Leon.
Yep.
And it's never implied that you're going to fight him. It's always like, we just have to talk him out of this. Because surely
like guy literally just assumed a power vacuum and has a whole evil monologue how he's like, you can only rule through force and we'll subjugate the peoples and we're going to kill everyone.
He was the one who used the Dreadnought to destroy all those towns earlier. Like a lot of people died at his hand. We know this.
Yes. Because we didn't even cover the second town destruction where a bunch of towns...
Oh, yeah, we did when the Cyclone showed up and they destroyed everything.
Yeah, that was when Cyclone happened. But I mean, we didn't mention that like it does wipe certain towns off the map.
Yeah, you can't enter them anymore.
Like you can't return to them anymore, which again, interesting thing to do in a Final Fantasy. Not a thing you really see post Final Fantasy 2. They kind of don't want to do that. But again, pointing to the fact that Final Fantasy 2 very much is in favor of like changing its world and killing its characters.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is kind of neat and refreshing, you know?
So
especially from how saccharine Final Fantasy 3 feels after this. Really good. Love the game, but kind of saccharine after how everything is just like, it's all fucking blood and death and we're all going to die. Yeah.
So you go to stop Leon.
Yeah.
As soon as you get to him, a portal from hell shows up. And the old emperor walks out of it and says, "No, I'm taking my empire back."
This is when he says, "Oh, I don't need my empire. I'm taking over the world."
Yeah.
And you're all like, "What were you taking over before?"
Right?
Just Cashwan and Finn? Is that what you
were you good there? Like, you just decided, fuck my city. I don't need that part.
It's never explained how the emperor resurrects himself from hell.
Right? No, he just does.
And I'm kind of bummed out by this because Garland was such a cool boss in the first Final Fantasy. Because they explained this kind of whole time loop situation, which was so cool.
Yeah.
It's so unique. kind of convoluted, but still cool. Still very like Doctor Who kind of shit.
Right.
And then this one's like, oh, how does this guy come back? Oh, he came back from hell. Yeah, but like, did he make a deal with the devil, or was he like secretly a demon? No, he just like got out of, he climbed out of the hell.
He went through the Jade Passage and
because hell is just hell is a hole in the ground. And he climbed out of the hole. And you're like, oh.
Now
how do we
magic
get
was
to
so
him?
powerful that he just created a tunnel from hell. The story officially is that he took over hell, and now that he is the emperor of hell, he has used his power as the emperor of hell to come back.
Well, and then it's like, well, how do we get down to hell? Do we have to go through magic portals and stuff like we've been doing and find magic? No, it's just a hole in the ground.
Yeah, he created the Jade Passage, which is how you get to hell.
We'll just jump into a big hole and then it goes all the way down to hell.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
all right, then.
But before you can go to hell, Leon joins your party, and everybody just immediately forgives him.
Instantaneously.
Just instantly, we're like, well, he is Maria's brother, so
he's. Also, does it not feel like he's just like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll help you take out the emperor, so that he can then go, now I'm going to take over the empire.
Yeah, no, he says it outright. He's like, well, I have to help you stop the emperor so that I can get my empire back.
Yeah, and you're like, what the fuck,
the rest of you are
dude?
Like, well, okay, I mean, we've got a common enemy. We better work on this.
You go fucking fight him, Leon, you dick. You go fucking do it. Put your stupid little helmet on.
We killed him the first time. It's your turn.
There. So it's just and then they take him back, and Hilda's like, "What the fuck? This is the bad guy." And they're like, "No, he's Leon." and she's like, "Okay."
So you go to hell.
It's not how war crimes work.
Yeah. So it isn't most Final Fantasy games, to be honest.
That's true. Yeah. All right, I'll give you that.
So you go to hell and you defeat the emperor.
Like you do.
And then you come back and everybody's happy and everybody celebrates, except for Leon, who's like, I can never atone for my sins. I have to return to the Empire. And everybody's like,
good.
Okay.
Yes. Please fuck off, Leon. You evil fuck.
And that's the end.
The last boss of this game, we didn't talk about last session, but the last boss of this game. It's so
easy. You just equip the blood sword in like 2-3 rounds and he's dead.
I didn't get the blood sword.
10,000 plus damage every turn. It's great.
And he has a physical attack where he absorbs a percentage of your HP, which is most of it. A lot of times it's a one-hit kill. Most times it's a one-hit kill, but sometimes it's just most of your HP.
Yeah.
And the problem is, in the Pixel Remaster, when you have the HP boost turned on, you have a shitload of HP. So you end up with more HP
all the time.
Then you can really deal in damage. And my first fight with him lasted about an hour. And we got stuck in an infinite loop where he couldn't kill me all the way and I couldn't kill him all the way. So I had every turn, I guess he ran out of MP or something, because he was only physical attacking, which would heal him for 4,000 and kill one of my guys. So every turn, two of my characters, one was dead and one was casting life and the other two were attacking.
Nice. But you weren't attacking enough to counteract that.
Right, because I can't get haste or berserk off, which haste, berserk, shell, and protect stack in this game, which I like when they do. I think that's a cool mechanic, and not all of them do that.
Right.
And since they stack, the only really way to deal physical damage is to like stack haste 5 and berserk 5 2 or 3 times and then hit him.
Yeah.
Or cast spells, which do a little bit less than super hasted berserked attacks, but they're a lot easier. You don't have to do all that shit because it wears off.
Or just use a blood sword. It does like 10k damage every hit.
It's so we're stuck in this fight for about an hour, and I realize like we're in a loop. Like no one can kill each other.
Yeah.
And so I let him kill me.
Yeah.
And I think I fight him 2 or 3 more times. And finally I grind up enough to deal enough damage. And I lucked out. What it was is he was still healing himself for about 4,000 HP, which is just under half of his HP for every physical attack. And he just happened to not physical attack for 3 turns in a row, which was all I needed to deal the requisite 10,000 damage. And it was just sheer luck that he didn't.
Yeah,
and so it's tough. It's a tough fight.
My most recent run of it, it was a 2-round fight.
Yeah, with the blood sword.
Yeah, Furion did 99 damage the first round, and then 99 damage the second round, and then it was dead.
Must be nice.
It is. It's a very fast fight.
The story of this game
is ridiculous.
It's delivered poorly. I'm trying to find I enjoyed it enough.
It's a very basic story in a very basic system because of how early it was, and because they didn't quite know how to handle the storytelling yet. But they tried to be very grandiose.
Yeah, I think that's what it is it feels like someone trying to compose a symphony on a little $10 Casio keyboard from Dollar General. It's like you can get the feeling there, right? Yeah. Where you're like, oh, there's lots of stuff happening and people dying and cities getting destroyed.
Yeah.
But it never really lives up to that grandiosity. Yeah. If it's like I can tell that you want to tell a bigger story than you have the tools to tell right now, and I appreciate that you shot that high. I do, because this story is a lot weirder and darker than a lot of Final Fantasy stories.
Oh yeah,
but it just kind of doesn't quite get there. It feels a little like. It feels almost random. Sometimes you're just killing people to kill them now. You're just like, and anytime they introduce someone, you're like, yeah, you should go fucking kill him. And then you're like, oh, yep, there he goes. He died. There, he's dead now. And it's like Paul and Leon get to live.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. That's just sort of.
Layla's good.
Yeah, she gets to live.
Ricard's good. I mean, all of his countrymen are dead. He lives alone now in a castle.
Well, what's weird is if you go back to his family.
I know it's not supposed to be his family, is it? I thought it was.
Is it not
random.
His family? Yeah. I thought it was his family.
No,
he could still go hang out with them.
Yeah,
like
he gets
they
to go
might
hang out with them.
You go back to Daist or whatever where they're at, and they're like, well, I guess there's nothing here for us, and they give you fucking Excalibur, which they presumably pulled out of that magical lake, and then they fuck off, and presumably Ricard comes back, but they're gone.
Yeah, he's just like, where's my friends?
It just kind of seems like maybe you could have been like, hey, maybe come back and hang out with this guy. He's a dragoon.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. It's just disjointed, I think is the word.
Yeah.
I get a lot of the individual story beats I get are very melodramatic, very tragic, but you never really like Final Fantasy IV. You feel the sacrifices that people make.
Right.
Some of them are undermined later in the story, sure. But in the moment, it's like you're feeling this because there's a lot of characterization in that game.
They've built up the characters first. They've given them some backstory.
In this one, it feels like a lot of just like bringing people on stage just to kill them. You know, like some of them, it's like, you're a fucking red shirt, dude. Like there's no.
Hey, Minwu, come out here. It'll be funny.
Yeah, it's like Spock and Kirk and Bones and one guy with no name and someone's going to die. Guess who? Like, I don't, like, oh, I don't fucking know. Maybe it's Kirk. Oh no, it's the guy with no name. So I appreciate what they tried to do with it. I feel like it doesn't quite live up to what it's trying to do, but I appreciate what it wanted to do.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the bonus dungeon.
Yes, please, because I didn't. It's not in the Pixel Remaster, so I didn't get to play these.
So there's two of them. There's the one on GBA and there's the one on PSP. The GBA has a completely different game mode that is unrelated to the main game.
Oh.
So it is only unlocked after you finish the game. It's called Soul of Rebirth, where you play as Minwu, and you later recruit Scott, Ricard, and Joseph, and you're in heaven.
Oh.
Because Ricard sacrificed himself to stop the Emperor when you meet up with Leon.
When he does, doesn't he?
That's right.
Yeah.
So Ricard's fucked off too.
There's so many noble sacrifices, you fucking forget them all.
So you've got these four that are all in heaven, and they learn that the Emperor's soul was split in half when he died, and half of it went to hell, and half of it went to heaven. And the more powerful
that's not how souls work.
Right. Guys. So the more powerful half is in heaven, and it is taking over heaven because it's apparently also evil, but it's the light half of the Emperor.
How do you take over heaven? Will you just beat the shit out of God?
Apparently.
Like, what is it, a chess match? Like, what is it? What is...
So the thing is, you have to go and fight the Emperor in heaven, the light half of the Emperor, but you control Minwu, Scott, Ricard, and Joseph, who all have whatever stats they had when they died in your game.
Yeah.
And Scott was never in your party, so he has okay stats.
Yeah.
Minwu and Joseph both died really early in the game and have shit stats.
Shit stats, yeah.
And Ricard was near the end of the game, and he has pretty good stats. And all the enemies are like end game enemies.
Yeah, so you're just grinding nonstop.
You're getting fucked nonstop. Like your characters are just dying constantly.
Yeah.
And then the the Emperor is much stronger than he is in the main game, so it's even harder. And then the Arcane Labyrinth is the bonus dungeon on PSP, and the goal is to unlock these 2 ancient spells that have been locked. I don't remember what they are, but they're like grossly overpowered.
Yeah.
And the boss of that is also significantly harder than the Emperor. And then after you beat it, your only goal is to go fight the Emperor, so it's useless.
Yeah.
So I get why they removed that. The 2 spells, I'm trying to remember what they are because they're just grossly overpowered. They're ludicrously overpowered. But they are useless because you can only use them on the Emperor, who is weaker than what you'd get. And you could only get one or the other too. So I don't have any love lost for that being removed from later versions.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. The only people in the story that I actually felt emotionally like bad for was the mother and child alone in the Dragoon City.
Yeah, same here. They're the only ones that I feel bad
at the
for.
end, sadly fuck off and give you a legendary story. They're like, bye, there's nothing here for us. Like, you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel them.
But where are they going to? Because they don't have a boat.
They're going to go throw themselves in the lake. I don't know. Fuck, man.
Go hang out with a bunch of hatched wyvern eggs.
Oh, shit. Yeah. As far as reception, the Famicom release was said to have sold 800,000 units, up from the 600,000 of the first game, so financially more successful, at least in its NES incarnation. Right. Original reviews for the NES version were good, got a 34 out of 40 in Famitsu, but later re-releases scored less positively. Yeah. So it kind of seems like, the black sheep status sort of cropped up later.
Yeah.
Because really, by the time the rest of the world got the game, we had already experienced more of Final Fantasy.
Right. So it felt
this was immediately
like
this is weird, yeah. In the West, it's kind of always been regarded as one of the
weird
worst ones, to put it plainly.
And we didn't get it until the PSP port, and notably, the PSP port came out the day that the Square Enix merger happened.
Oh.
So the copies that were released have a Squaresoft logo on them, and then a little text underneath it that says "Published by Square Enix."
Yeah.
Because they didn't have a Square Enix logo yet. They had not finalized that.
How strange.
So that's how late we got this game in the West. Is by then we'd already had Final Fantasy X. We'd already had Final Fantasy 11, and then we're suddenly getting Final Fantasy 2.
As far as legacy, obviously the ideas in this game, the systems in this game were carried on in the Saga games.
Right. Yeah.
But I do think you can see a lot of what would become Final Fantasy IV in the bones of Final Fantasy II. And
you can also see a lot of the DNA of a lot of the Final Fantasy tropes here, like Dragoons and Chocobos and stuff.
Yeah, early things, absolutely starting up. Wyverns didn't really become much of a thing. I wish that had been more of a thing, but take what I can get. But yeah, the noble sacrifice, I think, has kind of become a sort of a franchise staple. The Chocobos, the snowmobiles, right? There's so many
so many
Final
snowmobiles.
Fantasy
Well, there was a
games.
snowmobile in 7, wasn't there?
Was there? I don't remember. There's so much shit. There's like fucking snowboarding in 7.
True.
I don't know. It's got an RTS in the game.
Right.
I don't know. It's got everything.
Other little trivia, Ricard's last name in FF2 is Highwind, which is also Kane's last name in FF4, and also Sid's last name in FF7. So there is kind of a through line there of Dragoons.
There's some very not Moogle, but kind of Moogly looking beavers.
Yeah, the beavers that look like proto-Moogles, and they've
They're
said in later years that was kind of what they were aiming for, was what eventually became Moogles.
Yeah.
They did finally bring back the beavers in Final Fantasy XIV, by the way.
Oh, did they?
That is the first time the beavers have come back. There's an area in the Shadowbringers expansion where you meet pixie fairies, and they are very mischievous, and they cast glamours on people to confuse them and get them trapped in their forest forever and everything. And their nemesis is the beavers, and apparently pixies that are bad get turned into beavers, and it is like the nightmare that they all deal with is beavers.
You know what premium mount I would actually pay for? A weird giant pink skin chocobo from that Amino key art.
I wouldn't be surprised if they added that.
If they did that and it was like $10, I would 100%. I'd be like, fuck yeah, give me weird pterodactyl head skin chocobo.
Yeah.
Narratively, I feel like 4 really takes what 2 wanted to do and runs with it.
Yeah.
Really sprints out of the gate with it. Because 3 kind of takes everything 1 did and says, let's do that, but better. And then just kind of drops the idea of the melodramatic story from 2.
Yeah.
Which I think, really was the most progressive thing in 2. And then 4 very much is like, no, let's go back and we're going to scoop that shit up and we're going to go fucking berserk with it and we're going to go to the moon.
Right.
And so I really, in that way, I appreciate what 2 is doing because I can see where it's going. I can see, and again, like, I don't know. I don't think the story in 2 is good, but it's not like, oh, this is fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's a little
You're like, it's
cheesy
there
and light, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not trying to insult it, but it is something that like a high school kid could have written, writing out a fantasy story.
It's like a gas station burrito. You're like, it's food. It's got cheese in it. I'm happy.
It's fit for purpose for an NES plot.
Yeah, it's fit for purpose, right? So I don't know. I really can feel Final Fantasy IV kind of gestating in the story of this game. And so
I feel like 2 and 3, you can really feel a lot of the DNA of the Super NES Final Fantasy games coming to life there.
Definitely.
It's just that they hadn't yet figured out how they were going to make the series work.
Oh, yeah. I feel like you can get a lot of the tone. Like, tonally, Final Fantasy VIII feels dead on for it, but you also get a little bit of Final Fantasy VI sort of tonally.
Yeah.
Where it's like this like kind of dark story, dark times, empire taking everything over, like everything's very melodramatic. I mean,
As a leader of an empire destroying a world, that's very
like I
straight through line there.
Absolutely can see that, So I think as far as final thoughts as a whole package, the story's kind of weak, but it's just kind of weak in the first 3 games in general. I would say of the first 3 games, it's the strongest story.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying a lot.
Nope, it's still kind of nonsense.
It's kind of like saying Listerine is the strongest alcohol you have in the house. Like, if it's the only one you got, it's not wrong.
What about scope? Does that count?
Yeah, if you got some scope there, then if that's what you're stuck with,
I'll take 2 fingers of scope.
Listerine cocktail. It is technically alcohol, so there you go.
Your options are Listerine or Bailey's out of a shoe.
I liked Final Fantasy 2. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I really kind of enjoyed it, even though so many people are like, "Oh, it's the shitty one," and it's like, it is the shitty one, but it's not shitty. You know what I mean?
No, it's. The expression "even the worst game in the series is better than a lot of other games," and that's really where
absolutely.
This
it's it's a little ridiculous.
I'll
a
take it
silly.
over Tecmo's Secret of the Stars any day.
Oh yeah, I'll take a root canal over that. But, it's just saying. So yeah, I had a good time with it. I'm already kind of in my head looking forward to playing through it again, but better in the future, here in however many months or years when I decide to go back and be like, let's get the blood sword, let's build our party right, let's do it correctly. But I enjoyed my time with it. Not as much as Final Fantasy 1.
I think I like it more than I like Final Fantasy 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was able to stomach it more than I could stomach Final Fantasy X, so I think I do too. I think
we're gonna get some angry comments on that one.
Oh yeah. It's not as I think Final Fantasy 1 is a very clean experience. Yep. I think Final Fantasy 3 is a very much more robust experience. Like in the original trilogy, the original first 3 games, it's probably the weakest.
Oh yeah.
But again, it's a good time. It's weird enough that if you've never played it, I think it's worth playing the Pixel Remaster version.
I go back and forth on whether 2 or 5 is my least favorite of the Pixel remasters.
How dare you?
Just because I never really cared for. I feel like 5 overstays its welcome. If 5 was half the length that it is, I would think it's a great game.
5 does feel like they were like, let's make it twice as long, and then someone was like, why? And then someone else was like, oh.
And then a third person was like, well, let's make that twice as long.
Yeah, so it's 5 is kind of longer than it needs to be. I'll give you that. I'll begrudgingly admit that. Yeah. I'll also begrudgingly admit that you should go to our Patreon at patreon.com/Retro Warriors.
Begrudgingly admitting that?
Because it's a secret. I don't know. It's the best kept secret in retro gaming. That's our marketing. No, I mean, not even. But yeah, please go to our Patreon. It's a website, patreon.com/Retro Warriors. And you can sign up to give us money there. It might even fucking work, Patreon. We want to thank the following patrons for giving us money, starting with David Allen.
And the Half Minute Hero.
David Zvihel.
Matt Stone.
Onionoi.
Keith FTA.
I'm not giving my name to a machine.
Marlow221.
A very angry donation.
And Dink Cool.
Are all people who gave us money at that website I was telling you about a minute ago. You know, the one
that sometimes
with
works.
The patreon.com/Retro Warriors. Well, the website always works.
Yeah.
And you can send support emails all you want. And they don't work on weekends or outside business hours.
When they want to work.
And it's when they want to work. So yeah, that's Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we could cover it for you. There's my rhyme. I did a rhyme right at the end of the show. Too Fast, Too Fantasy Saturn. It's 1:30 in the morning. I'm deliriously tired.
I felt the need to just be silent and let you stew in your rhyme for a second.
I appreciate that. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together.